YouTube, Dawson Ryder here. Welcome to my review for Gozyuger episode 25, the continuation of our two-part episode, kind of a Lupat tribute episode. And overall, I think this was a really solid two-parter. A lot of my thoughts kind of echo last week's, where I still think this series has so much more potential, but this kind of just gave me a window into what it could have been in some ways, like if we had actually given more focus to some of the Reds. Like, I know we've had a couple highlighted Sentai Reds, but I wish that was more of a consistent thing and kind of did this almost Decade-esque tribute thing. I think it would be more interesting. Like, I know we obviously wouldn't be able to do a tribute episode for every single Red because there's so many of them, so a lot of them have to be off-screen and whatnot, but I just wish it was more like this. I mean, obviously, I think it could be even better than this, but this is at least kind of something similar to what I was enjoying about the series at the beginning, which was like just kind of going in for the fun and enjoying what it was giving me and not trying to be too harsh. I think that the series review for this will be really interesting. We obviously still have half a series left to go, and who knows what could change, good or bad, by then. But I think it'll be interesting because right now I'd probably give it a more negative review, but very different than usually when I'm like going off about my anniversary rants. My two favorite things to rant about, anniversaries and fans. But usually I would just be really angry at all the, constant overuse of it and stuff. But this time I was going in more open-minded, and I still feel like it's not the anniversary elements that are annoying me. It's just the fact that I'm seeing all this potential where I'm like, I'm ready to have fun. Like, I came to have fun, guys. Why aren't you showing me a good of a time as you should? But anyway, regardless of that side note, this was a good episode, I think, in terms of what we've been getting lately. Like, I feel like outside of Gozyuger Polar, we've been in a bit of a rut, guys. Outside of Gozyuger Polar, these two episodes brought it back, and so these two have been pretty solid. And I like the way that this one wrapped up. There was a ton of anniversary fan service in this one. It is kind of that shallow stuff I usually complain about, but there was some fun stuff in there. We do start finding out that, I don't remember the name of the characters. I don't remember the name of most main characters, so the side characters, me remembering your name, good luck. But Seiji Takaiwa's character, we find out part of the reason he's fighting so hard is the person trapped inside the No.1 is his daughter. And that also made me think of how it's funny that I kind of forget about that element, because it's a very Rider-esque thing to have like the human being involved with a monster somehow. That's usually not a Ranger thing. Ranger has done it a few times now, but mostly it's a Rider thing. Like, they did that in Dawn Brothers, and I always found it funny that they didn't give a single F about the personal struggle of that person. Like, Rider's all about, like, we have to improve their home lives by the end of the two-parter, and Dawn Brothers is like, whatever, we defeated you, good luck. And that almost feels like what it's like with the no ones usually, unless it's something like this with a personal connection. Led to a nice ending where he actually gets to save her. Like, at the end of the episode, I thought they're like, oh man, they have to have Goju Wolf do the finisher because it's the new toy. But then he actually got the final blow, which was really nice. Anyway, so yeah, that's part of the reason he's motivated. It makes our Patranger Ichigo friend feel bad, who again is apparently an actor from Ultraman, but somehow he just feels familiar. Like, I feel like he's from a past Sentai, but he's not, I guess. But it brings them together to work together to fight the monster. In fact, a lot of the times in the final monster fight, it feels like the main fight is between the two Lupat characters fighting the main monster. You do have a side plot classic versus thing with the main Rangers having to fight against, I think it was Zyuranger, Boom Boonger, and I don't remember the other one off the top of my head, but you'll see a picture of it. But they started with 3, and initially I thought, like, oh, the challenge is they have to fight them as civilians because they put tape over their rings. But then they ended up doing classic, silly gag games. But then at the end, they brought out 10 Red Rangers, and they did a giant fight with them as civilians, and that was the challenge, which I thought was a bit of fun. I really liked that. I thought it was a fun scene. It's always nice to see some of the older suits in, like, crisp HD. It just looks really cool, and it makes you appreciate them. And then you have this resolution of Horu kind of giving a pep talk to Patron Ichigo about, like, not, like, being a loser, but, like, embracing it or whatever. It's kind of, like, ties into his whole, like, if I'm going to be a loser, I might as well be number one at it, that Horu had a while back. But I don't know, the subtitles I had said something like, you're not a loser dog, or you're a loser dog. I'm like, why is he saying dog? I kept hearing it as Randy Jackson, like, you're a loser dog. It smells tight, dog. Remember that episode of iCarly? Anyway, I just kept thinking of that. It was just kind of weird. But I did kind of like that, tying it back to Horu's motivation there. Like, it didn't hit for me. Like, I'll be honest, I thought the stuff with Seiji Takaiwa's daughter was nice, but, like, I wasn't invested in this episode on an emotional level where I felt, like, triumphant when he saved her, or triumphant when Patranger Ichigo gained his confidence. But it was kind of nice to at least tie it to something with that. Tie it with something. Get it? Because Boom Boom Red was there. I don't know why I call him Boom Boom Red. Anyway, you have the final fight. Like I said, you kind of have Lupin and Patranger taking on the main fight. You do get a mecha battle, which is clearly just like, hey kids, time to showcase the Zord Builder, because you have what's his name? Polar. I can't remember Polar's real name. I've been calling him Polar too long. But Polar, he gets in the regular Tegazord, which just kind of worked just because he did technically pilot it when he was Goju Wolf, which is kind of a cool lore beat. But he's able to use one of the rings to do arm swapping on Tokyuger. And at first I was like, wouldn't it make more sense to use something Lupat? But then I'm like, oh yeah, you don't have any Zord Builder to advertise. And while it was very obvious, I hate to bring this up yet again, guys, but it still works so much better here. Like, it was so much more forced. It was so much more forced in Boom Boonger, whereas here, even though you can clearly tell the reason this is happening is to pimp out the Zord Builder line, it makes much more sense in the mythology of this one. So there was at least that, which was kind of nice. And yeah, like I said at the end, it seems like Goju Wolf's going to deliver the final blow, but Seiji Takaiwa's Lupinranger character gets to do it, which is nice, and then they get more rings, obviously, there at the end, and overall, again, I thought this was a pretty nice episode. It's much more in line with what I was enjoying in the early parts of the series, where it wasn't anything revolutionary, but I was able to have fun with it. But I still think it could be so much more. Hopefully, it stays at least this enjoyable, but we'll have to see for next week. But what did you guys think of this week's episode? Let me know in the comments as always. Dawson Ryder, signing out.